Now let's talk about Jupiter in Libra, ninth house. This will be the 8th installment in my series on Jupiter in the ninth house in each and every zodiac sign. In the first installment, we sorted out a basic interpretive template for Jupiter in the ninth house in general. We came to the conclusion that it indicates being very ethically motivated, being very intelligent and therefore a natural guide, and being quite prosperous and fruitful, and therefore being an attractive mate and attractive in general. Now let's take that basic idea of Jupiter in the ninth and make it specific for Jupiter in the ninth in Libra. If Jupiter is in the ninth in Libra and you're using a whole sign house system, which I consider to be crucial, I highly recommend it. Then if Libra is the ninth house, then Sagittarius must be the 11th and Pisces must be the 2nd. So you know that if Jupiter is in Libra in the ninth house, it means that the 2nd and the 11th lords are in the ninth house. And what does that indicate? If you take the 2nd and 11th lords, make it one planet and put it in the ninth house, well, that indicates being very, very wealthy. Because the 2nd and the 11th are houses of wealth. Combine them and put them in the house of prosperity. So now we know this interesting thing about Jupiter in Libra in the ninth house, wealth. What else do we know? What do we know about Jupiter in Libra in general? Well, I have a whole video on it. I'll put a link to that video in the description below if you want to know the details. In summary, Jupiter in Libra is intellectual, democratic, and fair. And then we have what we already know about Jupiter in the ninth house, ethically driven, intelligent, natural guide, prosperous and fruitful. Now, in order to understand Jupiter in Libra in the ninth house, all we need to do is look at those 3 columns of symbolisms and see where they're on the same page. For example, Jupiter in the ninth is very prosperous, and the 2nd and 11th lords in the ninth house is very wealthy. So if Jupiter is in the ninth house as the 2nd and 11th lord, as is the case when it's in Libra, then this person is very, very wealthy. So we could say this person is successful. Another thing we said was that Jupiter in the ninth is intelligent and therefore a natural guide, and Jupiter in Libra is also very intelligent. So we can say this person is a smart leader. We would say that because Jupiter in the ninth is naturally inclined to guide. So the intelligence of Jupiter in the ninth tends to be towards teaching people or guiding people or leading people. And finally, Jupiter in the ninth was very ethically motivated, and Jupiter in Libra is very motivated for fairness and justice. So if Jupiter is in the ninth in Libra, the individual is very justice driven, justice motivated. Now let's take a look at a real chart with Jupiter in Libra in the ninth house. Guess who it is? Lucky Luciano. Who is Lucky Luciano? He's kind of the most famous original mob boss, organized crime leader. So is he a very successful, wealthy person? Fabulously so? Yes. Is he a smart leader? Very good example of a smart leader. He's so smart that he's applying intelligence and business rules to crime. And is he very justice driven? Well, yes, but it's not really this that we would necessarily agree with his sense of justice. But he's very morally driven. In fact, the whole idea of Jupiter in Libra being democratic is really that Libra is anti-monarchy. So this democracy of Jupiter in Libra can also be expressed, or should also be understood, as anti-authority. And so the justice-driven nature of Jupiter in Libra can easily become vigilante-ish if it's in the right circumstances in the chart. So that's really the key, is not to become too myopically tunnel visioned on one thing about a chart, but to keep the focus on the whole entire thing. So really, Lucky Luciano, let's face it, is a violent criminal. So should we expect that Jupiter in Libra in the ninth house indicates violent criminals just because Lucky Luciano had such a placement? That would be very, very silly. Why? because it's all about the whole entire chart. Now the whole chart interacts together. So in his case, this justice-driven thing will be bent towards vigilantism, and his intelligence leadership thing will be applied to crime. Why? Because the rest of his chart is such. So one big important thing for Lucky Luciano is that all of his planets, the real planets, not the nodes, only occupy 3 signs. We also saw this with Benito Mussolini. He has Jupiter in Cancer in the 9th house, and only 3 signs occupied. What happens with 3 signs occupied is called Shula Yoga. It makes people feel that they need to fight. Other than that, the really, really key thing that really makes Lucky Luciano, the historical figure, Lucky Luciano, is that his first lord and his moon and his sun, so all 3 key focal points, are all in Gandanta. They're in the border between Scorpio and Sagittarius, which is the border between a water sign and a fire sign, which is a very difficult placement to have. And in that Gandanta, they're in the company of Mars. So that's indicating a person who really is not born with a silver spoon. But they have this martial way of responding to it, and they have this masculine way of fighting with it. And they're able to achieve great success within their sphere because primarily of this Jupiter in the 9th house in Libra, and also supported by the benefic Venus being alone in the Kendra. Understand the whole context of your chart, the soil in which your interpretive seeds grow, then visit my website, vicdecara.com, and click Readings. My complete chart report explains each and every nook and cranny of your chart and will keep you occupied in self-discovery for years. I also have 2 groundbreaking new reports. The first of these, Your Nakshatra, organizes your active nakshatras in order of their importance to you and presents the fundamental interpretations for the planets that occupy them. The newest report, Star Strength, uses a system called Tara Habala to unfold 90 interpretations of the nuanced relationships between all the planets in your chart, which paints a rich and detailed picture of how your various strengths cooperate or compete with each other. Order these or any of my reports and accelerate your journey to deeper self-understanding.